Landon Collins. New York Giants photo by Mike Lawrie, Getty Images. Before the New York Giants draft anyone or sign any free agents from outside the organization, they need to look inward first. From top to bottom, they must review roster the team ended last season with. General Manager Dave Gettleman, Head Coach Pat Shurmur, their assistants, and all the scouts have to answer one question first. Which of their players from 2018 who will be unrestricted free agents do they want to bring back? As we've seen recently, the NFC East is a toss-up division. Success in one season does not guarantee success the next. It doesn't have to be a worst-to-first scenario, but the Big Blue faithful needs to see their team is getting better. Improvement this year is paramount. Sure, there was some goodwill when ownership brought in a new GM and coach, but the fans need to see the Giants are headed in the right direction. After suffering through double-digit losing seasons in 4 of the previous 5 seasons, improvement, at a minimum, will keep the torches and pitchforks in their sheds. Let's start with the premise that Big Blue was not a good football team in 2018. They went 5-11, which tied for the 5th worst record in the league. If the Giants lost with a player on their roster last season, they can certainly lose without him just as well. No one is irreplaceable in the NFL. That said, talent is still talent. There are players to build around as well as complementary pieces every team needs. Things even. Sometimes the best choice is the player your team already knows and he knows you. Page 2, Pat Shurmur, Connor Barwin, New York Giants. Photo by Elsa, Getty Images. Last year's defense was in the bottom third of the important statistical categories. Defense, 1,898 yards, 20th. Pass defense, 4,044 yards, 23rd. Total defense, 5,942 yards, 24th. Points allowed, 412, 23rd. To be honest, the New York Giants defense didn't scare anyone. Dynamic offensive teams like the Kansas City Chiefs can overcome a poor defense. In the waning days of Eli Manning's career, Pat Shurmur doesn't have that luxury. Earlier, I used the term, all things even. In reality, all things are not even. There are intangibles such as dedication, compete level and heart, to name a few. I like to refer to a part of Al Pacino's speech in Any Given Sunday: the margin for error is so small. I mean, 1/2 step too late, or too early, you don't quite make it. 1/2 second too slow or too fast and you don't quite catch it. The inches we need are everywhere around us. They are in every break of the game, every minute, every second. On this team, we fight for that inch. Who did the New York Giants have on their 2018 defense that they want to bring back into the foxhole with them in 2019, to fight for that inch? I broke the UFAs into 3 categories that roughly answer the above question as no, wait, maybe, and yes. Thanks for your service. Don't expect these players to return to the team. Their contributions last year were minimal. In other words, thanks for coming and good luck in your future endeavors. Tony Lippett, cornerback, 26. He had a decent 2016 with Miami, but didn't impress in New York this year as a mid-season signee. Nathan Stuper, outside linebacker, 31. The Giants signed him just before opening day, following his release from New Orleans. He's a decent spare linebacker, special teams player, but a very replaceable cog. John Jenkins, defensive line, 29. Often inactive, Jenkins only played in 7 games. Linebacker Connor Barwin was released last week. Page 3, Kerry Wynn. Photo by Rob Carr, Getty Images. 6 in one, a half dozen in the other. This group is replaceable, but there is cause for them to stick around. The Giants have 3 defensive ends who are pending UFAs. 1, maybe 2 will be back. Mario Edwards, defensive end, 24. The Giants picked up Edwards off waivers from Oakland before the start of the season. He played in 15 games, made 14 tackles, with a pair of sacks, and 5 QB hits. He's a serviceable player at a position that heavily rotates personnel. He'll probably have to take a pay cut from the $1.5 million he made in 2018. More from Empire writes back Josh Morrow, defensive end, 28. The Stanford alum started the season on a 4-game PED suspension. He was part of the defensive line rotation last year and started in 4 of the 12 games he was in. Last season he played for $880,000. If he's willing to play under a similar contract, bring him back. Win, defensive end, 28. The versatile defensive lineman has been with the Giants since he signed as an undrafted free agent in 2014. Wynn had 39 tackles, including a sack and a half in 14 games last year. Loyal soldier in the Big Blue Army, he deserves to come back in 2019. We need you. Landon Collins, safety, 25. I wrote last week that the Giants need to do whatever it takes to get Collins resigned. I want to add one thing, there is no player in either free agency or the draft that can replace all that he does. Aside from being a great player, Collins is the New York Giants poster boy for intangibles. Curtis Riley, safety, 26. He was a bargain free agent signing last March. Riley started all 16 games opposite Collins, making 76 tackles, with 4 interceptions, including a pick six. A great return on a $630,000 investment. Give the kid a moderate raise and let him compete for his job again. Even if Riley gets beat out, his experience starting in the Giants system is invaluable. Next, what Kyler Murray's decision means for the Giants and Jets. Tomorrow we look at the offense. Page 4. The New York Mets could be headed down a path of no return with a Jacob deGrom negotiations. This has to be cleaned up now, and it could be done so very easily. We talked about this the other day, but it deserves repeating. When you listen to the team talk, it's not hard to wonder how much they really want it. Here is a quote from General Manager Brodie Van Wagenen. Everybody knows that Jacob deGrom is great, Van Wagenen said. Everybody knows that Jacob deGrom deserves to be handsomely rewarded for his performance. We need to make sure that the contract and what we're willing to do is something he's willing to do, and it makes sense for this organization short-term and long-term. And that's what we're trying to work through right now. More from Empire writes back that in and of itself is a pretty normal comment for a general manager. deGrom, however, had this to say when talking about moving forward, and talking about possibly reducing his workload. I'm going to have to sit down with them and really see what they think is best for me moving forward, deGrom said. You play this game because you love it, and then you have an opportunity to look out for your family and your future, so I think just you have to see what's right for you to do. This is not what we want to hear from the ace pitcher, especially when the franchise believes they can contend this year. It could all be just posturing that works itself out in good time. But what if it isn't? What if there really is animosity building here? The Mets could solve this very simply. It would take one simple change in the situation. Just remove Brodie Van Wagenen from the negotiation process. Think about it for a minute. Van Wagenen is in an impossible position on this to begin with. He was deGrom's agent. There you have the conflict of interest. He worked for the player and now he works for the team. By nature, he will compensate to one side or the other. There is no way he can be down the middle on this. Now Brodie is expected to negotiate this contract with his former colleagues. They might resent him, he might resent them. We don't know. The problem could be very real, and the Mets would be the losers in the end. Next, 3 things to watch in spring training. You know how you fix it? Let Omar Minaya, for example, negotiate the contract. He's done it before. He was the general manager. That would put someone without a conflict of interest in charge of this one deal. Come on Mets, it's not that hard. Let someone else do this one. Do it before the Mets lose their first Cy Young Award winner in quite some time.